Hello, lovelies. Well, here we are again. Having woken up from yet another nap, I wanted to answer what I've been asked a lot about the symptoms of my heart attack event. Um, gosh, 10 days ago. It feels weird. Time has been very peculiar. So, it really was remarkably untheatrical. It wasn't that heart clenching, falling over thing that you see on in the movies. Um, I went downstairs to shower. This is a double story, and the shower's downstairs. So I went downstairs to shower, and I actually remember going up like this to rinse, and my heart, there was a twinge here, and I thought, oh, I've pulled a pectoral muscle or something, right? And then I carried on showering, and it kept getting weirder, tighter, and then I finished showering, started going upstairs, and noticing that it was getting tighter. It wasn't. It was in my chest, but not specifically my heart at that point. So I climbed back upstairs, and at the top of the stairs, I started to notice that it was actually my heart, that there was feeling of pressure on my heart. And I went to the bedroom, I dried and got dressed. And by the time I got dressed, it was starting to, my arm was starting to ache. It was starting to feel like cramping. And actually, in hindsight, if you've ever had blood pressure machine cuff on your arm, that's what it felt like around my heart, like it was starting to be squeezed like this. And I kept moving it. I was stretching and trying to release this pressure, this squeezing tightness in my chest. And then my arms started to ache down into my elbow, my wrist. But not, it was weird because it feels like it's running on the inside of your arm. Anyway, so I walked back downstairs. I told Malcolm I was feeling somewhat peculiar. And I just kind of patted around a little bit. And then it was really starting to ache. So this is about 8 o'clock. I found upstairs in my friend's beautifully organized closet. Believe me, the payoff of having a well-stocked and well-organized medical cabinet is huge. I found some aspirin, and I took 300 milligram aspirin. This was at 8. And I went to, because I figured that if it was muscular, right, I'm still thinking this is muscular, or maybe it's indigestion or something. Anyway, I'm downplaying it in my head. And I figured that I would take the aspirin, and if nothing else, it would help. It would help with muscle. And if it was, something else, then it wouldn't hurt. So it was getting tighter and tighter. I sat down on the couch in the lounge, consulted Dr. Google, as one does, and reading the symptoms of a heart attack. And it said, pressure and tightness in the chest pain, ache in the arm, and then spreading up into your neck. And I was noticing that. And I was also feeling somewhat clammy and hot, which I passed off as having just showered. And then I was also starting to feel a little bit just lightheaded and woozy. And I just thought, okay, I've taken 300 milligrams of aspirin on an empty stomach, so it could be that. It's me downplaying it all. And then I'm still thoroughly convinced it's indigestion. And then I'm reading the symptoms, and at the bottom it said, often in women, it's not a sharp onset pain and is dismissed as indigestion. It's like, damn it. Okay, so this is about 8:45. I thought, okay, it hasn't worked yet. It doesn't feel like it's working yet. So I'm going to have another aspirin, which I did. By 9:15, I was battling. I couldn't take a full breath. My chest was incredibly painful. My arm was so damn sore. And then up into my neck and into my jaw. And I was starting to pant, just really short of breath. Putting 2 or 3 words together was tough. So Malcolm, God bless him, had already researched emergency phone calls, like what does the UK have in place of 999? Turns out it's 911. And then, sorry, no, it's the other way around. 911, it's 999. And then they have a non-emergency number, which is 111. And so that, because I'm still downplaying all of this, that is what we called. Very nice lady came up. I said, I've got chest pains. And she started, all right, we're going to do an assessment, started asking me questions. The more questions I had to answer, the shorter breath I was getting, the more in pain I was, the more I was starting to kind of zone in and out. My arm felt like it was going to fall off, my neck and my head into my back. Now my back is starting to hurt. And I answered all the questions, and she said, well, the assessment is finished, and I have dispatched an ambulance to your house. And I went, really? Why? And she said, you're having a heart attack, Mrs. Gates. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'll just wait here then. And at that point, it felt like it was such a peculiar feeling. It was like, okay, so that's what it is. I'm just gonna rest. I had no fight left. I had no nothing. I just curled up on the couch and I waited. The ambulance came within 10 minutes. A wonderful, wonderful man and a very young lady who hooked me up to an ECG. And the ECG apparently looked strenuous but normal. There wasn't any, he didn't see any of what he was looking for on the ECG. But he said he didn't like the look of me, and the symptoms were too obvious for him to disregard. So he said, and you have won a trip to Royal Berkshire Hospital. At that point, I'm not arguing with anybody. So we went into the ambulance, and there is a spray that they have. It's called a GTN spray. I'm not sure what it is. It's like glycerin, whatever it is. Anyway, he sprayed that under my tongue. And within 5 minutes, I started to notice the edge coming off. By now, it feels like the tightest part of a blood pressure cuff. It's like something's got my heart and it's just holding on. It's getting tighter and tighter. And that relieved a little bit with the spray. And then he gave me another one after 5 minutes after. And that took the edge off a little bit more. And he said, Mrs. Gates, you are having a heart attack because you would not respond to this spray if it wasn't that. We get to the hospital. They put me through to the emergency room, and I go straight into majors. First they take a blood test, and I'm waiting. And then they come back and they all look very concerned, and I get moved straight through to what they call majors, which I find out only afterwards is life-threatening occurrences as opposed to, minor emergencies. And I'm hooked up to everything that beeps and all these things. And apparently from the blood test, there is a marker that is just for your heart that shows whether your heart is in distress. It should be around 8, and mine was 317. So yeah, confirmation of a heart attack. They came and did an ultrasound, and then I went into the coronary cardiac care unit at about 10 o'clock that night. The NHS, they kept apologizing for being slow, but I was so well taken care of. There was a nurse in the ER, in the emergency area, called Serafina, and she was a total angel. So if she ever gets to hear about this, she was amazing. I had no energy and no breath to do anything. I just sat there. I had to have about 400 blankets because I was shaking with cold. But once the spray and then they gave me some other thing, but I basically had taken 900 milligrams of aspirin. Oh, I didn't mention that. In the middle of the assessment at the end of the assessment, she said, I want you to take an aspirin and I'm going to stay on the phone while you do so. And I said, I've already had 600 milligrams. She said, Mrs. Gates, you have to have something while I'm listening to you. So I did that. And they were concerned at the hospital, they were concerned about my stomach lining because it was on an empty stomach. But as it happens, that 900 milligrams of aspirin helped enormously. I don't know whether it saved my life completely, but the fact that I had these instant blood dilators and thinners, blood vessel dilators that they gave me, and the blood thinners that aspirin is, it made an enormous difference. And so on the Wednesday, they went up through my wrist. God, that was painful. But anyway, went up through my wrist and had a look at my heart. They found this artery that had spontaneously dissected, which means it splits of its own accord. We can't do anything as ordinary as a thrombosis, of course, and they found it. The arteries are clean. I don't have heart disease. I don't have anything wrong with my heart as a function, which is so weird. It was anomalous. It was very rare. In fact, every cardiac intern in the hospital came to talk to me because they wanted to all hear this story about the symptoms and what it felt like and all the rest, because they had never come across, well, they hadn't come across somebody who had this. A spontaneous coronary artery dissection. They actually found it, and it was very weird to be lying on a gurney and looking at my heart and my arteries on the big screen television. So yeah, there was that. They took a photo of an image of it. Once they found it, the cardiologist, they all cheered. They all were very excited to have found it. It was kind of funny. And then they gave me a brochure that said, this is what's happened to you. And really, once that was found, they had to watch me another 24 hours. And then I came home, and it's just intense rest. If I look after myself and it doesn't reoccur in a year, chances are it won't. But I've got to get my cholesterol down. That's the only thing. But really, otherwise, I'm in good health. And it's very strange to be on the one side in good health and not having heart disease, and still yet getting very tired very quickly and having to look after myself in this kind of, way. But having nursed Malcolm through his crisis 6 months ago, it's very interesting to go through it myself on the other side, going, just the same way as he only had one brain and can't rush the recovery, I only have one heart and I can't rush this recovery either. So there you go. For all those who've asked, those were the symptoms. You can look it up. It's called SCAD, SCAD. And yeah, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I'm very, very grateful to the NHS and my husband and the lady on 111 and the ambulance people and the nurses and everybody who took such very good care of me, and my friend Gail for having aspirin in the house, because God knows what would have happened if that hadn't been available. So, and thank you to everybody who's poured love and support and Reiki and best wishes and angels and all the stuff to me through Facebook and Messenger and emails and all the things. And my incredibly patient clients and leading ladies who have waited for me to recover. And as you can hear, I'm already tiring, and it's been 10 minutes. So I adore you all. Thank you for being in my world. I intend to be around for at least another 3 decades. So this is just a little blip, but we aren't going to rush. And, but there are some big plans, because I have been given the gift of a second chance, and I am not going to waste it. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.